This topic today is, everyone talks about local sourcing, everyone talks about zero carbon footprint and all that. But is local sourcing that easy as we think it is? Why do hotels still say no, no? Let's go with reliable suppliers. Let's go for imports, and I think Nitin briefly touched upon it in our F&B discussion. But Manisha, like long time back, I remember at ITC, used to have, that was the first time I heard about the term local sourcing at Westview when Bill Marchetti was the chef. Suddenly they would say like prawns from Lake Chilika or oysters from the backwaters of Kerala, and they would actually name the place, And suddenly we feel, wow, okay, we thought these oysters were from, North Atlantic, Canadian, off the coast of Canada. So, that was, say, about 2000, 2001. In these 15 years, how has the whole business of local sourcing changed? What are the new developments that are happening? Oh, no, actually, you have a thing right in front of you.
I think over the years, we have, as a chef community also, we have learned to appreciate what India has to offer. We also work towards reducing the carbon footprint. That's our commitment to the society as well. So I think we learned a lot from the Japanese passion for good ingredient. That's why we felt that if I'm going to have something air flown from transatlantic or all the way from Canada or Pacific Ocean, it didn't make sense to us, because if it is available back home in our backyard, why don't we take that? Because we'll reduce the time from the time it's harvested to the time it comes on the table. So from farm to fork, the minimum time will help in the best ingredient. That is why I think there's been a shift in the mindset of the chefs as well as the guest as well, because we have learned to appreciate what is locally available in India, going with, of course, Make in India theme as well, which started many years ago, amongst the chefs at least.
Right. In fact, chefs have been, like Ravi, you have been one of the biggest proponents of this idea of, sourcing locally. What have been the challenges you have faced? We have talked informally about the challenges. Manisha gave a good philosophical overview of this whole movement, but what have been the challenges you have faced?
The number one challenge, Sourish, is our intent.
Right.
As hospitality professionals, as chefs, as purchase managers, it is the intent to do it. Because it is very difficult, given our logistics in the country. It is extremely difficult. It is a nightmare. Sometimes we had this thing of flying fish in 8 hours, bay to plate in 8 hours in one of my restaurants. And every morning at about 4 o'clock, I used to get a call from the guy who's the vendor there who's just got it. Ki, sir, mere paas ye 2-piece parrot fish hai, 3 piece ye hai, bhejun kya? In his broken Hindi from Cochin. So I would say, yeah, whatever is there, send it. We had to do that. But how do you define rates? How do you define purchase specs? All which are required from a purchase point of view. You need these things. So that's a big challenge. So you have to say, okay, I'm going to bite the bullet. Sometimes we are going to lose money. Sometimes we are not. But we are going to go ahead with this and do it. And then it works. Another thing that I see is, getting imported things in India, at least till very recently, was much cheaper. Right. We were getting these jams from London, which we place on the tables for breakfast. Right. That was coming cheaper than getting it made from somebody here in Noida, because they couldn't match the price, because the product was natural, it was more expensive, they had more wastage, and they didn't have those huge volumes, because we were buying about 10 lakh bottles from them, but others were not. And the ones from there, set with some gelatin, pectin, etc., nicely company done. It was very simple for them. So 2 things. One is the supply needs to improve. And second, I think we need to take that extra step from our side.
It's one thing to say, Rajesh, you have worked at the Oberoi. You've had a long, innings, Are hotels also working with suppliers? I mean, or are hotels just letting the suppliers fend for themselves?
No, I don't agree with the fact that we, allowing the suppliers to get away with whatever they want to. Yeah. But like what Ravi and Chef has said, is that at the end of the day, the logistical issues here are crazy. I mean, I'm in UP right now as we
Right.
speak because it's
Right.
Noida. We try to get as much as possible from UP. Okay, we try it.
Right.
But again, your main mandi is in Azadpur. What do you do? Your fish market is in Ghazipur.
So you have to pay interstate taxes. And
There is now every time an entry has to be made is 1400 rupees. Now everything is just adding up to the cost of procurement. So sometimes it works out on a duty-free license much more cheaper to bring it from any part of the world than actually even picking it off, let's say Lake Chilka, as we said. It's become like that.
Right.
And the biggest problem is the consistency of supply. And sometimes you get a surplus. So they'll say, Aaj mere paas I have 100 kilos, can I send it? And then when you want 2 kilos, they say, no, it will not come for the next 3 weeks. So what do you do then? So we as a hotel, we also have to look at the availability of a product 365 days because the moment it goes on the menu, then you cannot say that, it's not available. And that's where it gets really difficult for us to understand what to put and what not to put. And ideally, given a choice, we would love to have it off the farm next door.
Right.
The Greater Noida has got so much of place there, so much of farming happening there.
why can't you go to Greater Noida and work with farmers and
They're all selling off the land for the construction, right? What can I do about it?
it's
That's the problem.
It's easier to sell off than
No, farming is no longer an easy proposition, and when real estate can afford them more money, what they would make, 10 generations of farming, they're more than happy to dispose the land and enjoy their life. I mean, that's what it is.
and then they'll buy their Ferraris. and all
Ferraris,
this.
they change their cars every 3 months.
Right.
I know quite a few of them.
Yeah. So, Ravitej, your, organic movement goes out of the window at this rate. So
No, actually, the organic movement, unfortunately, here, every organic product, now it's the world over also, goes at 4 times the price. Now, technically speaking, only the yield is lower because you're not using pesticides, but your cost of actually production, if you look at it, is cheaper. But it's the yield that actually determines the cost. So
Right.
it shouldn't go out of the window, but you're going back, let's say, 60, 70 years in tradition,
Right.
and it should be, if there is a way to sustain it, there's nothing better than that.
Right. So, Nitin, you're talking about I think you're talking about the Taj Group, and how they manage their, local supply chain. How does it happen?
Yeah. Okay. I need to give a real good thanks to Chef Oberoi because when I joined the industry, he was the one who, that time in 1995, who would say, I need this product in this manner.
Right.
So he had specified his requirements and he said, let's develop the local farmers. So what we used to do, we used to talk to people who had farms in and around Mumbai. So we reached up to the extent of going to Vasai, which is about 50 kilometers from the hotel. We also touched the farmers who were in the surrounding areas of Pune and Vashi that time. So chef used to say, I need red capsicum, and he would get the seeds. So that time, first time, I must have seen the red and yellow capsicum, which used to be imported from Switzerland in '95, and then we started growing them locally. So though the size, the color, the consistency wasn't there, but we started capturing the information. We started getting them to deliver, and then the supplier started learning. So chef used to come down. Today I saw him here after several years, but he would come down to the receiving department and say, "Ye barabar nahi hai, le jao." And the suppliers would talk to him as well. So it was easy for us then because the chefs were involved in the process. I have immense respect for Chef Manisha Bhasin, with whom I traveled some time ago, and since then I am in touch. So when I hear about the chefs teaching the procurement and receiving person, which ma'am does, if you have a learned person at the receiving end, then half the problem is solved because he knows that this is what the chef needs and this is he doesn't need. Because for a plating, if you need a particular size of a round onion, then you need it. You cannot go beyond that or below that because you need to present it. So the receiving person understands and then he ensures that this is what he receives and gives it. Nowadays, there are too many norms. FSSAI has a ISO 22000. So it's important that the supplier knows if you provide product as per the requirement of the hotel, then it's going to be easy win-win for everyone.
Yeah, in fact, you raised a very interesting point about FSSAI, and Chef Rajesh, like, tell me, how has FSSAI changed? In fact, has FSSAI pushed you guys to do more local sourcing?
It's not pushing us to do local sourcing, but when it came to vegetables and fruits and things like that, FSSAI still doesn't have a norm on it.
Oh, okay,
It's
good. Thank God for that.
Yeah, it's only for the packaged products,
Right.
and they came down very heavily on the imports.
Right.
And I can't say they were wrong for that matter. They had made their intentions very clear, and it is just that the people
Did
who
not
were
react on
procuring
time.
it, or rather the importers and people who did not follow the norms, and even the international companies were not willing to comply to the standards which we wanted, and it was all about nomenclature, not about the product itself. It was only the packaging, what was
Yeah.
written.
The labeling was-
Yeah, the labeling, whatever the ingredients which were mentioned on it, the FSSAI rules were a little bit more specific on that. And the industry itself took it for granted that, like, as everything else happens in India, chal jayega. And for the last 2 years, we've been facing major problems. Especially chocolate has been the biggest one to get
Right,
hit.
right.
Yes, cheese, chocolate, and Oriental products. Yeah. I mean,
fact,
tofu was selling at 500, 600 rupees a small packet. They said, "Lena hai to lo." We don't have, we
seller's
don't have
market,
a choice.
isn't it?
Yeah. No, because first of all, that was illegally in
Yeah.
India because it was not supposed to be there.
Right.
And now that you have a silken tofu on the menu, you can't put your local tofu as a substitute.
No, in fact, I was, seeing Calibo chocolates at our tea,
Yeah.
and Calibo chocolates themselves were banned for some time,
Yes, a lot of them
Yeah,
were
yeah.
because there were certain ingredients which were being used, which had to be mentioned, but they said just for India we're not going to do something like that. So they were also pretty stuck up on that.
Right.
And then I think over a period of time, quite a lot of things have been resolved, and now it's becoming a little bit more easier for us to get the stuff in. But I think FSSAI is required because we never had any benchmarking. And so somewhere down, and we all
You needed
thought
the law, it had to be just...
no, we all thought that actually FSSAI came in, all of a sudden. But actually, on hindsight, they had given this notice almost 2 or 3 years before actually implementing it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, they're not to be blamed.
Yeah.
In fact, the law came in 2006. Then 2012, they started implementing. Today is 2015, 16, and we still haven't reached there.
Yeah.
So it's a great law which allows anti-dumping, which stops anti-dumping, and which allows Indian consumers to get what they deserve.
Right.
Because otherwise, what used to happen, the suppliers would send anything.
Right.
Many times, in fact, it was a problem for a buyer that brand which chef has approved for a particular recipe, then pasta, say Diceco. But then they don't have Diceco, so they give anything, and then so ultimately cooking levels, softness, tenderness, everything matters. So if you do not have that consistency in the product, then obviously you don't have consistency in the end product.
But I don't think FSSAI has any guideline on the organic produce. In India, there is a program called NPOP, National Program for Organic Produce, which is being recognized by USDA as well as by EU, European Commission. So that is at par, and that I think will have to come in effect for the organic produce to be labeled. Going back to Rajesh's answer on the organic produce in India, it is on an increase. I've seen the prices coming down substantially in the market. In fact, when the vendors approach me for the organic produce, my first question is, my God, 60 rupees for 100 gram of organic turmeric I'm buying today, which maybe I used to pay 300 rupees earlier. So the prices have come down substantially because market has evolved.
But,
Today the consumer
I
knows
think
what
relatively,
organic
but
is.
relatively the prices are higher than
Yeah, relatively it would be
non-organic
higher than a
produce.
non-organic produce. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Prices have come down.
Have come
Dals
down
become cheaper.
quite substantially, yeah. So, at home I use that, and it's very, very...
The organic turmeric.
There is a
This
brand
from
which
Meghalaya, I
is
think.
24 Mantra is the brand.
24 Mantra,
which
yes,
is
yes.
all over the place, and I was quite surprised at the volumes that they do.
Right.
So, they did send me the certificates, which is actually, they are certified organic.
Right. Yeah.
Just want to add one important thing here about this FSSAI and the impact it's had. I think, okay, from hotels and all and purchasing and all of us have had some difficulties because of, we thought it won't be implemented and, we'll get away and all that stuff. But let's say this last 12, 15 months have been really tough for procurement, especially for people who were importing a lot of stuff. It has a very positive spin-off also, because a lot of people in India are now producing stuff. I mean, we're talking of tofu here. We are
Now,
exporting.
give us some of the positive stories.
Yeah.
What is
So
happening in India?
We are exporting soya beans from here.
Right.
So from Garhwal, soya beans are being sent.
Yeah.
Soya milk is being extracted and sent
Right.
to make tofu and to get it back here.
Right.
You know, so it's going from Garhwal and coming back via Japan, and then we charge it. Just imagine if we can set up a plant there.
Yeah.
There is one person who started in Noida.
Right.
Right now, tofu.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they've not been able to get the volumes, or they haven't
Yeah.
been able to kickstart. But I think eventually, because I've checked the quality out, and it's pretty good. It's not, I wouldn't say 100% there, but 80% is already there.
But I think, Nitin, I think that, say an organization like HPMF, because you represent purchase managers, and I think this IFCA, the Indian Federation of Culinary Associations, if you could work together in creating like a registry of all these people, why should this person in Noida only be known to Chef Variyath, he should be, or she should be known to everyone in Delhi NCR,
Actually, normally what happens, Suresh, is when somebody comes in and if it's a new entrant,
Right.
I don't know how it works otherwise, but when they come and they ask for leads,
Right.
we immediately give them the leads to all the chefs whom we
Right.
know, so that, they can also enhance their business
Right.
and somebody else can also benefit
Yeah,
out of
because
it.
if they enhance their business,
Yes,
everyone stands to gain.
we do that. There are, the same goes for fishes. It goes for anything. I mean, whomever you know, and but the way you put it, if you can put it across in a forum, it would be a little more easier for the people.
Right.
But on a personal level, as far as much as possible, yes, it's being done.
I think ICFS has a directive which Rajesh has spearheaded that, and that has all the addresses of all the chefs as well as
And
purchase
how old is
managers.
it, or how
and that
recent
is
is it?
available online as well as in a physical
Yeah, it
form
is.
as well.
It's. I think it's just getting. It's out just now. Chefs
good.
Connect. So it's
Wha-
called
what's
the,
it called?
It's called the Chefs Connect.
Okay. Oh, so now that's a very important industry initiative, because if every chef in Delhi,
Not just
NCR,
Delhi. It's open for
anyone,
everywhere.
anywhere
Yeah.
in the country, So that's a fantastic initiative. Nitin, what do you think?
The mere objective of HPMF is development of purchasing professionals.
Right.
Because we realize that the purchasing person not necessarily always has the required aptitude, attitude and knowledge, and hence it results in inefficiencies. Right. Because the user department do not get what they need, don't get when they need, don't get things which they would have preferred. So what we are doing is we are trying to educate the purchasing professionals first. In turn, it helps their organization and nation. So we have a Google group. It's a fantastic Google group. We are 1,015 members all over India today, and which is sharing knowledge. So I have always believed that there is a power in networking, and we have too many senior people who were not wanting to share the knowledge some time ago because they felt that it's my USP and I need to keep it with me. But then that's not there now. It's changed. When we share information which is being benefited by the other young professionals who have joined the fraternity.
That's very important, Ravi, any like the tofu story, that is anything interesting, any discovery you have made,
Well, there are a lot. There are cheese now. Cheese was a big issue. Right. So now if you there are two big players. There's Flanders and there's Exito Gourmet. Right. There are two big, and their cheeses are pretty good.
Yeah.
We had an issue with getting
burrata, I guess.
burrata.
Yeah.
It was because it had a 22-day shelf life.
Yeah.
By the time it would reach us, we had about 11 days to sell it. There was a minimum order quantity. There's no way you could sell that quantity in 11 days. And so we would end up eating a lot of burrata
You were talking
ourselves.
about make in India.
So now what's happened is the burrata is made in India,
Right.
and it is pretty good. It is still not equal to that, but I don't think anybody will complain,
Right.
saying that, okay, I can get it only for a few days in a year, in a month, or I'll not get it at all. All those problems are out. So we work with these people, and slowly they have the inclination to do better if you guide them. The suppliers and these livestock growers, they do it. But sorry, just one more thing. I think just one very important thing, more than all the price of organic or buying imported and all, I think one very important factor that, or as a responsibility that all of us as hoteliers and as chefs have, is that we need to understand that the entire value food chain, right from the farmer till us, where we are the chefs, and all the money and the fame and the accolades and the wealth is all coming towards this end of the chain. The chefs are celebrity chefs, the hotels do very well, multi-billion dollar things. And in the same country, how can a farmer have to commit suicide because he can't get a square meal for his family? And he's part of the same chain. It is I think our responsibility to connect, to share the wealth, to make sure that they are directly connected with us so that the percentages in between reduce and we are able to work with them
But
directly.
Ravi, that's a very good, philosophically, that's a very good point, But, when you talk about quantities, will that poor farmer working out of 1 acre of land, will that person be able to meet your, demand for jams or whatever, onions, Say, how much onions does...
I'll give you an example. No, the point is not about saying that, one guy is there. I've been dealing with these small farmers for many years now. And yes, it is an unstructured place. And supply, like I said, supply is an issue. We want it very easily at our doorstep. We cannot take that extra step right now. We should. But the larger issue is our own specifications. We were talking about receiving specifications. We make them. We say we want the tomato to be like this. We ourselves are saying we want a factory product.
Right.
If we are saying we want it like this, he's going to do something to make sure that tomato grows like that, right? You say you want tomatoes and you're willing to take it and you say, okay, these tomatoes which are overripe, I'll use in X thing, and this which are larger, I'll use somewhere, which are firmer, I'll use in salad. I think chefs need to relook at this whole receiving specification. It has to be a broader guideline that will reduce the wastage and the food security issue of the country. There's a lot of things which we are throwing off.
That's a very good point. And it's a point that can be implemented.
Yeah, we have to do it. We have to do it. Otherwise, we won't get anything. There's nothing left.
Manisha, any thoughts? I mean, tell me about someone, you talked about Make in India, someone you've discovered, who's...
We have, I do go to, like I'm sure all of us, all the chefs, Ravi and Rajesh, go to the farms. I do go to farmers market, which happens every Sunday. It used to take place at the Nehru Park.
Oh, Nehru Park,
Nehru
yes.
Park, now it happens at Malchamag Market, where these farmers come and display their products. They also do honeys and jams. So our responsibility is to encourage them. But also at the same time, I think purchase will also have to, pitch in there and also have that flexibility that if a person does not have a ARC or he doesn't have a contract with us, to be able to buy his product off the, whatever he has. That kind of flexibility a chef must have. And of course, the inclination from chef also it plays a major role.
Very, very important.
Coming back to Ravi's observation on the, doing something for the farmer, what ITC does, we have e-Chopal, where with e-Chopal, the farmer can sell his product directly online. And there's a...
Cut out the middleman.
Cut out the middleman. They can make a cooperative. But yes, as chefs, I think we need to work with them and help them make that consortium so that we can approach them as and when required and get larger quantities from them.
Actually, going what chefs just said now, it's not just about, the chefs alone. I mean, it's a process the hotels follow. Now, if tomorrow, let's say we know this farmer's market is there, we should be able to just go pick it up and come. You don't wait for 3 quotations, all these so-called red tapeism, bureaucracy, whatever we need to follow to get a product XYZ into the hotel. Now, once that element of, leverage is given across, you will see that a lot more people will, because you're walking and you suddenly see something and you say, okay, I'll pick this up and I'll use it. Am I allowed to use it or not? Now, the question comes there. If I am, then tomorrow the person will come and give it to you at your doorstep. But when you're not, what do you do? Exactly. So it's a whole system, it's a whole process that we also need to sit down and, kind of work it out, how to make things more easily accessible and usable.
Because if like everyone is agreed on one thing, whether they agree with A political ideology or B, that the time has come that we start believing in our own products, and promoting our own products, sort of. I think there's unanimity on that thought, and also we should eat healthier products. And I think
like this morning only, I was reading in the newspaper. This group of 4 young entrepreneurs, they've bought some land near Noida, and they're growing produce for their own family consumption, which is a great initiative, I must say.
In fact, a lot of people. I mean, it's a common farming families. That's what they do.
Not only that, Sourish. I mean, I live in Noida, and I've got the place where I'm staying right now. It's got still farms there.
Right,
And you can
right.
see a lot of products being grown there, cauliflowers to tomatoes to everything. Now what happens after that? We don't know.
Yeah.
Where is it going? Now you still, Noida prices of vegetables are more expensive than Delhi,
Right.
in spite of having local products there.
Exactly.
There's a need
Yeah.
to maybe bring them together.
Exactly.
So
That
where
is
we
what-
can
that-
go
that-
and buy this
yeah,
product.
that is
Because
what it
each
is.
one is doing in silo.
Yes, that's the problem.
I think this is I mean, when chefs meet and all, this is one area which must be now increasingly talked about, I know there are bigger issues and all, but I think sourcing is one
There's
issue.
nothing bigger than this at this moment because sourcing is becoming a big problem.
Today a consumer is judging you by the quality of the food you give, not just by what you serve on the plate, but what goes into the plate. I think that has become so important. As you were saying, as the chef also was talking about, the Italian that approach, that ingredients are supreme. And the rest,
No, but also one more thing, that the customer coming into the hotel should also accept the fact that when you eat, let's say, whatever it is, an Italian food in India, is certainly not going to taste like in
Exactly.
Italy.
Yeah, yeah.
See, that benefit of the doubt, if it's not given to the chef, then you will end up getting the tomatoes from Italy. Let me
Right,
tell you.
exactly.
That is another thing which is very important.
right.
We are scared today, somebody comes and eats, this is not the way it's supposed to be. At the end of the day, it's your pride at stake too. So,
yeah, I mean, everybody, then you have to go for the Pilati tomatoes.
Absolutely. So that is where, being in India, we need to appreciate the fact that what is there and whatever we cook out of it, we try to do our best
Right.
to, give it.
There's a farm near Bangalore called Fresh Agro. I'm sure most of us
What's
know
it
about
called?
Fresh Agro. First Agro.
First Agro, yeah, yeah.
First Agro in collaboration with Japanese technology. They are growing completely fertilizer-free, near organic. They don't claim to be organic because you need the
Of our
soil
rules,
to be,
yeah.
for almost 5 or 6 years. You have to keep it fertilizer-free or pesticide-free. So they're doing a great job. They're growing Italian tomatoes. They're doing a lot of Japanese ingredients, and their stuff is very good. However, I think our supply chain has to work on that.
Even in Himachal, they've just started this hydrophobic,
Yeah.
hydrophobic, where
Plants grow in water.
Yeah, they just grow in water and it's just flushed out and the water is reused.
Right.
Oh, so it's an amazing thing. And I tasted the lettuce at this time at Ahar, it was there. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit more expensive, but as the volumes build up, they will be able to bring the prices down. So,
In fact, a lot of the hotels can start making their own hydroponic lettuces.
We just have to keep an engineer for that. That's
Okay, I think we have run out of time, nearly. Okay, she's being very generous. A question, and Bikramjit has a question. Yes? The ushers there.
I think one of the biggest tragedies that our generation faces is that we are going to be living through the destruction of many of our native varieties, which no one is doing anything about. And I can give you even a simple example. I was shooting at the Umed Bhavan, and the Bapchi had this special chili, which had great color, but it wasn't hot. Now that chili has disappeared because they have got something hybrid, which is easier to grow. Now there must be hundreds of other examples of native varietals, maybe it's rice, maybe it's kinds of dal or lentils. I'm not even going into vegetables, which are disappearing. And how do you deal with that? I mean, we are very fond of looking at Italian tomatoes and, different variety, Japanese tofu, but what about our own heritage products?
At ITC, we have a section called local section where we do bring about this artisan way of cooking. We do bring about these artisan ingredients. We do showcase, and it's on our pavilion menus, and it does change time to time. Also, Ravi's done some good work also. I know Oberoi has done a lot of work there. In banquets, we do showcase these, forgotten grains. In fact, on our menus, we have forgotten grains. So hotels have made an attempt there, and just to educate the customer also. So when the guest is coming, we do it in a very international way. Let's say we'll make it a 5-grain pancake, a millet pancake or something. Need not be a roti, which is so traditional. So even your international diner enjoys it. So that's our commitment to encourage these kind of ingredient usage.
Millet, I think, takes 1/10 the water that rice takes to grow,
Yeah.
and
That's
it's
right.
healthier,
Absolutely.
and it's more traditional. But people
Yes.
have stopped, forgotten.
And
And
the
no
whole
one-
world, the
And
whole
it's a
world has
respons-
discovered.
I
You know,
think
so
low
it's a
on
response.
glycemic.
You know, that's the thing. I mean, quinoa is majorly big, and black rice from somewhere is big. But we've been doing this, and it's even worse than going to the farmer, because you're looking at now subsistence farming. Like the Adivasis still grow it. So how do, I mean, it's a huge challenge. Which, I mean, you guys.
in
as
this
food
case,
ambassadors,
I'll
you
like
have to convince the how. I mean.
I'll bring, to your notice, I mean, I wish I'd got them here for this discussion, because they will have contributed a lot, This is the, two very successful executives. One was working at Wall Street, another was working with International Finance Corporation. Now, they have got together and launched this brand called Original Indian Table. And beautifully packaged boxes, they've sourced lovely, great things like, there's something called bamboo rice, which is very popular in Uttarakhand. There's something called Diana red rice from Karnataka. All these things, even bhangzira and all that, all these spices and condiments which are sort of going out of fashion, they've brought it to the urban market. And we need, I guess once hotels discover, someone like these people who are doing, like they have got these white, rajma from Uttarakhand, So they're packaging them and, they've just started retailing them. So I think,
I mean, like Ravitej discovered so many interesting spices when he was doing the Mughal. Yeah, I had not heard. I mean, most of us haven't heard of half of them.
Yeah, so like I said, it was about, it took a few months to, even put 10 dishes together from that, and then going to a lot of Unani doctors, actually, not even spice vendors, to find out, to see their boxes and ask them how it can be used. And because food always had a medicinal role in, ingredients had a medicinal role in food, even in olden days. And that is where it all started, even with the spices which you saw. But just one thing I'd like to share is, like, we're doing currently at our hotel, we're doing a festival which is a Banarasi food festival. It's a non-commercial, not the usual ones which sell, but we're doing it because, one, the cuisine, we want to pull out the Indian smaller, lesser popular cuisines. And during that, we have one dish which is that malayo, which is what we call Daulat ki chaat in Delhi, which is that foam. But in Delhi, after tasting this malayo, you know that the Delhi one has got some stabilizers and something to keep it.
Egg white.
Yeah. Egg white and God knows what else in it.
I remember I was not allowed to shoot the making of malayo in Delhi. They wouldn't let us into the kitchen because I'm sure they were putting egg white into it.
So the big challenge I had here was getting the right fat content in the milk. We went through all our suppliers, all the branded guys. It didn't work. It just didn't work. They said, nahi hai, isme nahi hai, nahi hoga. We tried it 4-5 times. Finally, it was an organic farm whom we spoke to, who gives us every day, because at our breakfast we have a organic section also, partly organic section. So we get 50 liters of milk every day from this person, from a farm near Nimrana. Okay. So that person I called up, and he was the one who gave the milk, and that milk worked. So now you know that, okay, that milk has got a high fat content, and it works for a very natural product. You don't need any other stabilizer. Otherwise, you use a cheaper milk where the fat has been skimmed off. Then you add God knows what to it to create a dish.
They use a chemical, no, which is called, I mean, I forget the name. Samudri jhag. Yes.
And they use unpasteurized milk.
Unpasteurized, okay. Okay, right.
So there are things around, like Nimrana is about 90 kilometers away from here. And it worked for us to create that dish. And whoever comes there is amazed, and they're relishing it. It's one of those things which will die out if we don't take care of these things.
I think heritage foods, I mean, again, one area which I think all the chefs here, are talking about now in a very big way, and which has become so fashionable all over the world.
But sometimes the heritage food we talk about is heritage abroad. Like, heritage tomatoes have no place in Indian cuisine. I mean,
Heirloom
people
tomatoes.
are going, whatever. Heirloom tomatoes, humse kya hoga? Hamara to heirloom nahi hai na. Tomatoes came to India with the Portuguese.
Right. Yeah. But by that token,
So did potatoes.
everything we love to eat now has come in the
Can
last
you imagine life without
300
aloo
years.
and tomato? You can't.
Well, a lot of Kerala food is without that. So,
Thank you for making
so,
sure.
yeah, so, we are not used to too many
But
tomatoes.
Bengalis would be distraught. The only vegetable we eat is potatoes.
Aloo, yeah, that's...
And
Any
Vikram,
other? Yeah.
the Banarsi food that we have, the entire thali, there are 37 dishes. There's no paneer, there's no potato in that entire thing. That's unheard of in a vegetarian menu in Delhi. Okay.
Wow,
No,
that's
paneer
fantastic.
is just a shocker.
Paneer has become a must. It's not as
From
though
the oldest city of the world, no? So it has to be.
So,
For a vegetarian aspect, that's the only novelty.
but
that
this is
really-
amazing. If you have a dish without with a 37 course menu, without paneer and potatoes. Bikramjit, on 23rd we have to go.
Also, one more thing is that Sourish,
I am
when
lactose
somebody
intolerant,
comes to a
perfect.
hotel, okay, they're not
Tomato
looking at
kacha.
eating the heritage food also. You know what happens is sometimes the root vegetables and things are looked down upon.
Yeah.
So it gets really very difficult. You know, they say, "Ye to hum ghar pe khate hain. Why should we?"
No,
come
if you sell black rice saying it's coming from Peru, they'll eat it.
Yeah,
If you say
that's
it's
what,
coming
that's
from
what
Chota
I mean.
Udaipur, they'll say,
See, not just us who need
This
to
is coming
change.
from
that is
Manipur.
where your
then-
toughest
No,
challenge is.
the thing is the paradigm shift has to happen from the people who are actually frequenting the hotels, you know, the guests also. Otherwise, what happens is at the end of the day, you're cooking for someone, and when that someone is not appreciating what you're doing by saying that, hey, this is very basic, then, you know, kind of saving the heritage of Indian food gets a little difficult then.
No, I'll tell you,
It's like basmati rice is taken over. I mean, everybody knows
Normal,
basmati.
regular rices of, traditional
Yeah,
rices are
it's only
lost
basmati,
today.
Yeah.
Nobody even knows which supplier will give it to you.
Sourish
first.
has been eating basmati from childhood because he's from Delhi.
you know, in fact, talking about burrata, you know, I'm going back to the burrata, you know, and so I was there sometime back to do a food tasting, and the
Where is
very
it?
enthusiastic food F&B
Italy
manager
or-
was saying, "Oh, this burrata, we've just imported it from Italy." I said, "Look, if it were imported from Italy, it would be still in some FSSAI laboratory. So you got it from Flanders. Why don't you say that? You know?" And you said you should say. I said you should say Flanders. You know, and people will think it has
It's
come
reputation
from Europe. You know,
management.
from Belgium. You know.
It's reputation management.
Any other questions? You know, yes.
I want to thank you very much for this session. I think it's an excellent session. I started the morning by asking about solar tech. I think getting very close to the whole idea of shortening the food chain. Because the longer it is, the worse it appears to be. Urban gardening, growing food close by, over-specification, reducing industrialization, giving the chef a lot of creativity to be able to use many shaped tomatoes into a food which is, you know, the end product is exactly as good as it is. This will essentially merge the chef with the purchase manager. Is that not the situation today? That the chef is the purchase manager? How is it structured today? Yeah, because, you know, he's been very quiet all this while.
Yeah, no, they were talking about food and I have...
Yeah, they went into menu, yeah. But I mean, you know, the whole idea of taking the middleman out, bringing them closer, interfacing them with the farmers and the customers, what does it do to the purchase manager and what will his role?
No,
Yeah.
I'll answer this.
Yeah.
Chefs have a larger responsibility of cooking and also satisfying the needs of the guest. They need some administrative person to take care of the documentation. That's the purchase manager, and that's what I do. I ensure that I bridge the gap between the user, which is the chef, and the supplier, and I ensure that the complications in terms of product not available or available tomorrow or this specification. So I take that off. That's what is the role of a purchasing manager.
Can I ask you about one particular role which I'm keen on, because it's quite clear it can work. Would they have the clout to get the right prices, or do you think the purchase manager is better positioned in that? I'm not merely saying that they can't, and I'm not so sure that a chain can actually not get its chefs together and actually clout its, you know, volume purchase. Do you think the purchase manager actually brings in a clout, or is he just a lazy guy? I'm sorry, not you, who says that, okay, ये chain में आ रहा है, ऐसे tomato आते हैं तो चलाने दो, because it's such a pain to, you know, get into discounts, discoveries, price discovery. Yeah. So how do you react to?
See, there are three elements to get a better price. One, relationship. Second, knowledge. And third, experience. So whether you're a purchasing manager or a chef, if you have these three things, you'll get the price.
So you like to be a chef?
Yes, of course, yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Good. I think now chefs and purchase managers have to work as a team, you know. Yeah. Yeah.
I
So,
think the younger genre of purchase managers are very accommodating, and they are willing to try new things, and they work in consultation with chefs.
Getting Getting a good price, as you mentioned, I mean, though it's the KRA of a purchase manager, it helps us also in maintaining our costs. So it works both ways. It's we have to work in tandem with each other. Yeah. Yeah, it is working also.